Welcome to the Cricket Betting Podcast. I'm Ed Hawkins, brought to you by Cricstats.ai. This is the only podcast in the world which tells you exactly what is going to happen in the biggest cricket matches on the planet. This is not an idle boast, and I will come back to that, but I do want to say hello to Paul Krishnamurty, pro gambler extraordinaire, killing it on the best bets for the Cricket Betting Podcast, plus 24.67. I presume, Paul, you're doing well?
I'm doing good, Ed. How are you? I've enjoyed last week. Can't wait to get into it again.
Yeah, a good week last week. Paul joined as ever by Richard Mann of sportinglife.com. Also in profit on the best bets, plus 4.93, and wins at 2s and 11-4 from last week's episode. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Ed. Hello, guys.
Great stuff. Now, we do say it every week, but we're going to say it again. We do tell you what is going to happen. Not what we think is going to happen, but what is going to happen. Monstrous winners last week. Read them. Stark, man of the match, West Indies versus Australia, 10-1. No West Indies 50 in that pink ball day-night test at Sabina Park, 9-1. 3 performance doubles. Pant 50 at 2s from Richard, and Jadeja 50 at 11-4 at HQ. The best bets normally come at the end of the show, but because actually we've got a quiet week on cricket this week, we're going to be putting the best bets in the free Telegram channel, which you can subscribe to. Check out the comments below, and we'll be putting up prices when we get prices from the layers themselves. West Indies versus Australia, for example, starting next week. We do have games to cover on this show, but we're struggling for prices at the moment. And a reminder also to subscribe to the VIP channel on Telegram. You can get that on the comments below. You'd be mad to miss out. 85.5 point stakes, returned 95.15. So that's ROI of 11.3% on the VIP. Don't miss out. Those are our best bets. All our three brains bashed together to come up with the best angles and all the cricket straight to your phone. There's in plays as well. So get subscribing. Now then, a silly question, I guess, Paul, but good week, bad week. That's how we always start.
It's a brilliant week. Really couldn't have asked for more. I mean, it's worth adding that, we put the best bets up, and that's just our best, what we'd spend our 5 points on. But we actually put up dozens and dozens of bets and strategy on this show. Every angle of it is explored. And you look at last week, that Windies game, I think I mentioned 100-1, no 50 in the game, 20-1, neither side getting a 50 in the first innings. Those are the extras. I know a couple of people got in touch, better getting on then. The trading went well, got a runs middle on the England-India game, which we'll talk some more about that, some in-play strategies. So, yeah, brilliant week. Let's open for more of that.
Rich, good week for you.
Not too bad. I want to put a dampener on it, though. India not getting over the line was a real bruiser for me. And Pant getting run out on 74 was a bruiser as well. I had him for a ton of course, and that probably cost India the match. So I am going to moan about that. But some really good stuff on the Telegram channel. I know we keep bigging it up every week, but the shorting of England's runs overnight is such a good strategy, isn't it? New ball, fresh day, fresh bowlers, and that was brilliant, wasn't it? Could have been even better actually if it wasn't for Bryden Carson, Jamie Smith, but we got a really good unders there, and that kind of covered the whole week for me.
Yeah, we will talk England versus India and whether India's chance has got brainless stuff from India, but we'll get into that. But we are also going to revisit important in-play strategies. So it's a bit of a strategy show this week following that test match at Lord's and West Indies versus Australia. We are going to look at Zimbabwe versus New Zealand, the T20 Tri-Series. We've got teams, pitch reports, player win rates, trade strategies, and all that coming up. Plus, we've got upcoming angles on the Blast, which we're hitting very well indeed on that VIP service. Look, England are 2-1 up, though. They are 3-10 with Bet365 to hold on to that lead. and win the series. India is 6-1 with the same. Draw is 10-1 with Spreadex. Paul, I'll come to you first. We will come to some Old Trafford numbers. India should be 2-1 up, though. And does that mean their chance has gone?
No, I would say they should be 3-0 up. I mean, I thought they blew the first one as well. The difference for them has been the tail, hasn't it? Their tail has been poor, with about an ours has been really good. But they could absolutely still win. If we get 2 more results in this, as the odds would suggest we would, then I don't see why not. Although I would just say that 6-1 doesn't strike me as much value, because if you think of it as a double, they're already like 9-4 for Old Trafford, could go off bigger. So that would make them like even money, 11-10 in the last. That's not going to happen. I think you'll get bigger back in a match by match.
Rich, we've got some team changes. Liam Dawson's been called up because of Shah Bashir's injury for that Old Trafford test. That seems a very sensible thing. What England do with Pope, I'm not sure. What India do with Bumrah? Surely he has to play. I mean, there's a nice gap between this Old Trafford test now. What's the state of play from your view in terms of betting angles and where the series goes now?
Yeah, well, I'll just start with team selection. I mean, Bumrah has to play. He's obviously got a good break. And I think if you just forgot the score for a second as well, this would have been the ground that India would have surely earmarked Bumrah for, because it's different to all the other grounds in England. It's a very abrasive square. I mean, we've had a hot spell. I know we're getting a bit of rain right now, but it's generally an abrasive outfield, and that brings reverse swing into the game more than anywhere else in India. And Bumrah's the best in the business at reverse swing. And you remember that series England toured a couple of winters ago. He blew England away with reverse swing. Bumrah has to play at Old Trafford, regardless of the scoreline. The other change I would make as well is I'd leave Karen Nair out and bring Sai Sudharsan back in at number 3. I'm not quite sure why they made that switch anyway. He's just a better player. Or better still, I'd get Pujara out of the media and have him at number 3. I think they'd certainly chase that down, wouldn't they, last week? Someone to just dent that new ball. As for England, pleased for Liam Dawson. He offers more than Bashir. Obviously, he's injured anyway. But when they're not bowling, very good batter, really good first-class record, made loads of hundreds, good fielder. So he looks a solid pick, and I think he'll go to Australia as well now. And what it does do is it means they can leave Works out and know that their lower order's still strong, because Dawson will bat 8 and he'll be an exceptional number 8. I suspect they'll leave Works out and it'll be Atkinson if fit, or Cook. And with Paul, I don't think India are completely out of this. I think this was the test that you'd fancy them more than anywhere else, because I think reverse swing, if the weather comes good again, will be a big factor. And I just think India are a better place for that. They're more used to it, given a subcontinent background. I think Siraj is a good exponent of it, but Bumrah's different class. And as we've seen with England, look, they're 2-1 up. I don't want to knock them too much, but when the ball does do something, that batting is vulnerable. So I'd definitely give India a chance, but I think they want the weather to come good again, both in terms of spin, but particularly reverse swing.
England 11-10 for that Old Trafford test, which starts Wednesday 23rd, 11-10 with Bet365. India 11-5 with Spreadex and Sporting, and on Betfair the draw 15-4 Hills, VC Bet, Betway. I'm pretty down on India. I might change my mind a little bit once the dust settles. But
do you think there's
Yeah,
do you think that, I want to come back to you, do you think there's a bit of a soft underbelly to the side? They're obviously highly skilled.
I think they're mentally weak.
Yeah.
I think the way they chased that Laws in the 4th was just, it wasn't psychologically sound. I think they were leaving it to each other. I think there are players in that 11 which don't have the guts, or to borrow Shubman Gill's term, balls, show some balls. Karen Nair doesn't have, the grit and determination. And the player I've been consistently down on is Washington Sundar. I just don't think he's got it. I just don't think he's got the fight in him at all. In the India first innings, he had to marshal that tail, and you pointed out, Rich, he was completely strokeless, and it was absolutely predictable that Sunderland wouldn't do anything with the pressure on. We've seen it from him before. He's just not a player I like. And there are too many of these blokes in that India 11 don't stand up. And they've got to get Sai Suderson back in because he is a proper player. I just want to mention correct scores. 3-2 England, 15-8, bet 365. 4-1 is 3-1 with the same firm. Obviously, the 3-2 for India is 6s and 2-2 draw is 10-1. Paul, anything there? You mentioned those prices going into the final test, if all square.
Yeah, all sorts to say here. Right, so just to recap, I had a bet for the best bets at start series, 2 points at 8-1 on 3-1 England. Right, haven't updated it. I will update it in the next show when we're like a day or two out from the test. About Old Trafford, at the moment the draw is 4-1. It's too early to start doing this. But I looked at the weather forecast for Manchester for the next 7 days, and it's what you'd expect. Same as usual. It just rains all day, on and off. And of course, Old Trafford is a first innings, a good pitch in the first innings generally. So my general feeling about that test, if I haven't done anything yet, is that the draw is the first trade. I mean, the draws come right in all 3 games so far because of the strong batting and weak bowling. And this is arguably a better scenario. So you'd want to keep that aside. So that 3-1 is still 17-2 with Spreadex 8.5-1. Strikes me as massive value because if it's a draw, you've got 17-2 about England winning the final test, like an even money chance. If England win, you've got 17-2 about the draw in the last test, which is going to be a reasonable, fair price at least. So your only risk is India. So I'm kind of thinking along the lines of take that 17-2 now, or I'm not going to change my position. Hope the draw comes in a bit now and India drifts a little bit, and then just back India as a little cover in the in this game.
Rich, let's move on to in-play strategy in game. That's an in-play strategy for series score from Paul. You picked India 3-1 in play. I think it was on day 3. So you were absolutely banging the money up until, well, I suppose the last 30 minutes, I suppose. Just tee up a little bit of in-play strategy stuff for us with some wisdom.
Well, Bazball just delivered again, didn't it? Fantastic trading strategy. We flagged it up last week, and Paul actually put a long explainer in the free Telegram channel, so do check it out. Paul outlines his test match betting strategy. But in terms of Bazball, you just see loads of big market changes in that match market. Even though Lords was a slow burner as well for the first 3 days, we still saw big fluctuations. Pick up on what Paul said about the draw. Right late, sort of third evening and fourth morning, the draw was like vying for favouritism on Betfair. It was, and you had Stuart Broad saying that the only result can be a draw because we can't see how anyone opens this game up, and then bang, that game got opened up. It's just great for trading, and I think the perfect storm is 2 closely matched teams, good ones, but they're fallible ones. They make mistakes, be it in the field or with the batting. We've had some, even in a runs-heavy series like this, we've had some crazy batting collapses, and I think we've mentioned it in our WhatsApp group that's been going crazy for the last few weeks about potentially just trying to keep extreme unders on side all the time, because you look at the records being broken for runs. But yet we've had some 101s down in the runs market, unders. So it's Bazball, it's just fantastic. And it's not always Bazball with the bat either, because that fourth last session, obviously India went to 1.21 to win the game. They may well have gone short, but I saw 1.21. England out to 8.5, and still Bazball found a way to make traders money, basically. Just absolutely fantastic. Again, if you just want to trade bet contrary, you'll definitely make a profit.
Yeah, I think one of the favourite bets of the week was shorting England runs in that third innings, which was extremely high at 340. Even if you believe that the pitch is going to pretty much hold together, and Lords does have a reputation for doing so, 340 is still way too high for a third innings, even on a decent pitch. But I think the big sort of takeaway from that test match the one before that, West Indies versus Australia series as well, which has finished in a clean sweep for Australia. And this might be stating the obvious, but just watch the game. If you want a trading strategy or a way to go about it, watch the game and concentrate. When does the ball start swinging? When does it stop? I think at Lords it sort of started around about sort of 10, 11 overs, and then the Duke's ball will normally stop moving around about 40 overs. At Lords it was a little bit earlier. It was pretty obvious in the day-night test at Sabina Park that it was going to start hooping when the lights came on and it was getting dark. Then you can play your partnership bets or your individual runs markets accordingly. And unless there is absolute evidence about a minefield in front of your eyes, and we would have seen that in the Sabina Park, someone's normally going to get some runs. So you can, if you get your timing right with overs on partnerships or picking a player to drop anchor and score well, and it may well be you can have the opportunity to do that with one of the best in the world, Smith or Root, that we've seen in the last few weeks. You're going to be up and about in profits. You will get burned every now and again, but if you look really, really closely, you will be okay on the long haul. So no substitute for watching, concentrating, really feeling the rhythm of a test match. ODI is much harder to do, but that's for another time. Paul, we actually traded that fourth innings at Lords on the VIP as basically a T20 with a lovely little tie trade, one of our favourite T20 strategies. What else you got?
Well, Rich actually just brilliantly covered loads of it. I think this extreme unders situation. I think the important thing is here. Look, I think our subscribers will be happy with what we've delivered so far with content and all the rest of it. But we're only human. We've got lives to lead. You can't be in front of a computer 24 hours a day. And I just think that that's the best advice you can give someone. If you've got something like extreme unders, right, you've got that sort of strategy, just do it. Just stick to it. Do it as a rule. Don't wait for anyone to tell you. If something's there, 100 to 101, 105, to lay some target that's way in distance, like 75 runs, 100 runs away, do it. Because we see this all the time. Teams collapse. It just keeps on happening, right? And I don't get on, like, half the time with these things because I'm doing something else and you're like, oh no, suddenly there's just 3 wickets in 5 minutes. Right? But just stick with it. You mentioned the tie trade. Really good little thing, that. Because, I mean, it's rare, isn't it, to do it in a test match. You don't normally get those sort of finishes where it's like that. But in T20, it's brilliant. And I'm thinking ahead to next month, we're going to have the Caribbean Premier League. You want to be doing it in the games where you're very confident there won't be an extremely high run line. Because if you're going to get a 240 or a 250, then, yeah, the tie is highly unlikely. But if, when you're talking about your 170s, 180s or lower, a lot of those games go to the final over. A real lot. And if you go to the final over, that's probably going to trade in single figures, and you're going to get at least 50 to 1 to start the game.
Yeah, routinely on Betfair Exchange, you're getting the tie at 50.0. And all you need is a last over finish or, last 9-ball finish or something like that. Yeah. And look for those pitches, as Paul said, which are a lever, so to speak, stodgy pitches, Providence back in the day, which basically reduces that gulf between teams. I'm sure we'll mention it in detail. We've got a listener question coming from Eddie Rivers, who's a long-standing friend of the show. Thanks for your support, Eddie. He wants to know how best to use the Cricstats suite of tools for betting. It does read like he's been paid to say that, but I absolutely guarantee you that is a genuine question from Eddie. So look, I've just got, about 3 or 4 points. There's the Cricstats Stat Finder, which is a really easy way to spot player trends across multiple matches in loads of different stat categories. We've been using it on the channels and on the show for player performance bets. We've found a really strong angle in the Blast, for example, because you're able to search under the quote. So if David Willey is 44.5, you can search in the Stats Finder tool to find out how many times players have beaten that quote, and David Willey's name will come up. You can also set filters for whether they've beaten it 10%, 20%, 30%, etc. Of the time, and look at last 10 games this season and 30 games filter as well. The venue insight tool is new, so this is all the grounds and all the formats, so you can get your runs averages for all the markets that we like to use. So first and second innings, sixes, fours, top score, etc. across the last 5, 10, 20, etc. So check out the venue guide. Team details for every page, every team, and every player. And just if we're talking about this tri-series, which is going on at the moment, you can really get down into some nitty-gritty data about where the strengths or weaknesses are these teams. So New Zealand, for example, very easy dashboard to use to see what they average for sixes and fours and boundary percentages in T20. So 7.7, 10.9, 20.6 for New Zealand, pairing them against South Africa, 9.8, 11, and then 17.9. So that might be an indication of why New Zealand have gone off favourites in that game, which is being played as we go into production. Player profile pages as well, individual analysis on players across all the formats, games, competitions, and everything. So do go and sign up for your premium service at Cricstats. So it makes your betting much, much easier. I know Richard's mind was blown by it. So there you go, and a lot of these stats that we're going to get into now. Let's get a game on to try and actually talk about things which are going to happen. It's Friday, Zimbabwe versus New Zealand, Harare, noon, live on TNT. New Zealand expected to be very short favourites. 4-9 might be generous, maybe. Zimbabwe, Madveer, Bennett, Nadande, Raza, Burl, Musikua, Miyonga, Masakadza, Navara, Muzarabani, and Gwandu. New Zealand, we think they're going to line up something like this, with the caveat that they are in action as we record. Conway, Ravindra, Seifert, Chapman, Phillips, Hay, Neesham, Sant, Masodi, Henry, and O'Rourke. Pitched in the last 13 T20 internationals, 12 were results at this venue. Run rate just 7.5. That does go up to 8.8 for the 5 games that India played in that sample, and India did smash 230 odd. That was one of the 2 innings which had busted more than 180. 7 of the 12 results won by the chaser. So lines of 6s and 4s are interesting. 11.513 in 12. Overs 4 at 25.5 has won 5 of them, but we suspect the surface might be a little bit different to those numbers in terms of 6s anyway. Paul, upset incoming or not?
No, I'll be surprised. If it was 4-9, I'd be quite happy to take 4-9 New Zealand. Look, I think they're a very good side, New Zealand. I think they've improved as well. They've got a bit more aggressive in recent games. And I just don't rate Zimbabwe at all. I mean, you mentioned like the stats at Harare. This is something that's really on my mind at the moment, because how much can we trust them? Because most of those games were against Ireland or Afghanistan, even Bangladesh. So they're not high scoring games. They're teams with our strong batting. And then when they have played a decent team, they generally get thrashed. And I'm kind of wondering, like, maybe the big overs for some of these teams is underrated. I mean, that New Zealand batting line up there, that's got power from the start, power and aggression all the way through. A lot of those players had good winters. Chapman, for example, much better than ever. Mitchell Hay looks decent. So I'm wondering, will they be, if New Zealand bat first, we're going to get like good value on 200 plus?
Yeah, on my betting.betfair piece for New Zealand South Africa preview did talk about both teams to score 200 at 35s, which I just thought was potentially bonkers. Richard, though, is this Zimbabwe's best format?
Well, possibly just because you get the best players, don't they? You get Sikandar Raza, you get Burl, and you get Muzarabani opening the bowling. Raza, you don't really get him very often in Test cricket. So it's a pretty decent side. I mean, look, they're bat deep, don't they? Have a few of them. We'll get to that later. A few down the order who can give it a belt, but that New Zealand seam attack just looks so strong, doesn't it? I think they'll make early inroads for fun.
Yeah, we've got player win rates coming up, and I'll give you another player win rate for South Africa player. Some really big numbers, actually, which you need to jot down and just make sure you cross them for the rest of this try series. We've spoken about the pitch, Paul. We're going to come back on a question for that, but I think we've done it. So any nuggets from Paul, and then we'll go to Richard if we've missed anything before win rates.
No, not really. As I say, it's a little bit of a wait and see. We've got this New Zealand South Africa game in the morning, and that's the one I really want to see before making a sort of any sort of real verdict about the conditions.
Rich?
I'd be interesting to see New Zealand's 6-over-runs line. So for the South Africa fixture, it's 46.5, but I suspect it'll be more like 55 or 54.5 against Zimbabwe. But I'm just thinking Conway and Ravendra, they're not massive dashers in the first few overs. Conway likes to take his time. Zimbabwe's new ball attack's pretty disciplined, actually, and in the game against South Africa earlier in the week, South Africa only made 38 in the power play. They did lose 3 wickets, but nevertheless. So I think if that 6-over line was mid-50s about New Zealand, I'd be playing unders actually against a pretty solid new ball attack, particularly Mazarabani. And I think Conway's just a slow starter.
He sure is. Let's talk about players to follow on win rates. And one of the biggest numbers I think I've seen for some time on 2-year form, it won't come as a surprise. It is Raza winning 37.5% of the time. He has already won in this series, but normally we put an asterisk by somebody's name if they've just won. We don't like to be betting players back to back. Well, I don't anyway. That's just my views on the rhythm of the game, but I wouldn't be bothered about Raza. He will be favourite, but he's not going to be short enough with that win rate. Navarro with the ball is winning 27% of the time. Raza actually not far behind at all, by the way, on win rate for the top bowler as well. Seifert 34% 2-year win rate, but be careful with him. Check if he's opening. That's where those wins have mostly come from. Glenn Phillips is a favourite of ours, but he's a 4-to-1 chance on win rate last 2 years. So if you get anything bigger than that, then you can play. Matt Henry, another favourite of the show, has won 5 of the last 6, busting player performance lines of 20.5. And back to Raza, averaging 43.8 player performance in your last 30. And you'll be paying mid-30s with Bet365's and Betfair Sportsbook. Paul, who do you like?
Yeah, well, you just mentioned a load of them, actually. I mean, it's working out the best way to back them. So for a top batsman, I would want to back a New Zealand opener, just in case it's easy. They're chasing a small toe. I'd probably back Ravindra, who's generally proved very reliable in international cricket. But Phillips is really interesting on the player performance side of it. You know, he's bound to pick up a catch and possibly a wicket as well. So I'm interested in seeing what his line is. The odds aren't out everywhere yet. This is kind of why it's worth delaying the best bets a day or so, because not everyone's priced all these up. We'll probably find some outstanding value tomorrow. So he would be one. You mentioned Raza, another absolutely bang obvious player to do on player performance, always sort of contributes across the things. And also Matt Henry. I mean, Matt Henry's super reliable and like consistently underrated, it seems, in the betting.
Richard.
Yeah, I suppose I want to throw back to Paul. I'm very surprised, Paul, you haven't said you're going to do 2 or 3 of the Zimbabweans in the top batsman market would down the order. God, I mean, Henry and O'Rourke. I mean, Henry in the Blast has just been outstanding for Somerset, and I could see Zimbabwe being far down here very, very quickly and suddenly if you've taken big price about the lower order. So that'd be a strategy. I'm a big Mark Chapman fan for New Zealand. But if he's batting number 4, it's same with Phillips at 5 and the bat second, you may not get a run for your money. If he gets to the crease, Chapman, with plenty of play in front of him, I'd just be playing overs. I think he's had a really good sort of 12 to 18 months. I'm a big fan.
Just on that, Rich. Sorry, just on what you just said. I mean, I agree with you completely about the tail end. This is what I mean. It's a very awkward time in this because we've got this other game in the morning, and a lot of firms won't price it all up
Yeah.
till New Zealand have had a game. but that has always paid over the years with Zimbabwe. And Guevara, he's generally a big price. He can bat. Wellington Masakazna could definitely bat, but even Muzrabani can bat.
Yeah, Mazakatsu was mine, but I just wasn't sure what price we were going to get, so I
Yeah,
didn't want to sort of put my name on him yet. But
yeah,
I'll be interested to see how it's priced up. But just Henry for Somerset, I mean, on a flat pitch, he's just been not him and Riley Meredith, the big. I know
mm,
Ed's a big fan. They've just been blowing teams away. Um, so yeah, Henry could do some real damage, which is probably the bet. He's probably the bet for man of the match.
mm,
I've
mm.
found it there.
Yeah,
Mm.
Chapman winning
let's
17% of the time, by the way, on top bat.
mm.
Paul, sorry, I'll cut you off.
No. Just saying again with Henry, let's just see the player performance, what it is, what the total wickets line is. But there's almost certainly going to be value there because he just is every game.
Okie dokie, there we go. That's Zimbabwe, New Zealand done for you. A quick reminder to subscribe to that VIP channel. It's returning 11.3% on ROI, 85.5 stake, 95.15 returned. We're working hard and all bets are cross-checked by each of us, so nothing's squeezing through the net, which shouldn't, we think. So you can subscribe with weekly, monthly, or annual payment plans. Go to the comments and get all the best bets straight to your phone. We are hitting the blast hard on that VIP channel. There's loads of games coming up from Thursday, and David Willey has been winning for us consistently. It's just a point about a strategy or a criteria, perhaps, for playing the blast on those markets. It's a competition which is, well, I think it's an entertaining competition, but the quality is low. But you do have ex-internationals or current internationals sprinkled throughout, and just basically they're way too good. And Willie is one of those. And we've seen other players who are consistently busting their performance. Sam Curran was one, Dwarshus another, although he did lose last time out. So you do get these kind of outliers in terms of ability. And Willie, you've been paying sort of mid-40s, 45, 44, and that quote doesn't really change whatever he produces. He's averaging 55. He's won 8 of the last 10. He's playing for Northampton on Friday against Derbyshire. He made 63, made up at 63 on the previous head-to-head, and we fully expect to be paying over 44.5, 45.5 with either Bet365 or Sportsbook. Richard, what have you got?
Yeah, well, I'll focus on Thursday. I thought Gloucester and Sussex was an interesting one, just because Sussex have really gone off the boil. They've been really poor. Dreadful run, lost the last 4. I think they've struggled to make 150 in 3 of those games. I think they're potentially here. Bristol's been a mixed bag for runs this season, but potentially I think Sussex could be a big unders play. So I wanted to flag that up really. And equally anyone can win that Sussex top batsman market. Nathan McAndrew won it a big price. Ollie Robinson nearly won it as well. He just missed out by a couple. McAndrew's 28s for this game. Darcy Short for Gloucester being red hot, by the way. Blip last time, but big scores in the 4 previous games. I think I play McAndrew top Sussex bowler. That would be my tops bet, if you like. Most wickets this season for them. Better strike rate than Tamel Mills, more wickets than Tamel Mills. So keep an eye on that. Better mention Ben Dwarshus, had just mentioned Worcester player Notts also on Thursday. He's been going off at 32.5 in the player performance market, Ben Dwarshus. Won that 3 out of the last 5, and the other 2 games he made up at 20 as well. Just didn't get in actually at number 7, but I suspect against Notts he'll be required. And then the last one I want to mention, Thursday as well, because I'm staggered it's not on Sky TV. Look, we can be quite critical, actually, of bookmakers sometimes, can't we? Not pricing up, but they are doing their job, and all these games are priced up, loads of different markets, and yet this thing isn't on Sky. The Roses match on Thursday, which just seems ridiculous to me. Nevertheless, plenty of markets on it. These 2 played on Friday at Old Trafford. 236 played 217 as Yorkshire came out on top. I think we'll get big runs again as long as the weather's okay. Leeds has seen big scores all season. We know what a terrific place it is to bat. Yorkshire disappointing on Sunday against Derby, but they were 17 for 4 in that game and still got 151. It's still a good pitch there. that's just got overs written all over it for me. And then finally, I want to get this one in. Friday night, Durham Northants, no 50 in the match. I'm convinced there's going to be a massive unders game at Durham somewhere along the way this season. When the 50 is won there, it's scrambled home, 51s, 52s. Every team that goes to Durham this year is playing three spinners. Durham are playing three spinners. It's been dry. It's turning big old boundaries there, and I'm convinced it's at some point Durham's going to see a massive overs. We might get a sub 100 score there, and I'm hoping it'll be on Friday night against Northants.
There you go. Darcy Short, another one of those international players who's just way too good for this league. So if you could subscribe or give a like and some love on the podcast provider of your choice for the cricket betting podcast provided to you by Cricstats.ai, then that would be much appreciated so we can keep coming back. Get subscribing to that free Telegram channel right now and the VIP channel right now, because first and foremost, the best bets when we get prices available are going to be coming up on that free Telegram channel this time around. Paul, anything to add before I sign us off?
No, all I'm going to say is my one little thing that if I had to pick a best bet before those prices come out, I would just say have a bet on the draw at 4-1 in that England-India test, because don't think people are on it about the weather forecast yet. This is Manchester.
Paul did live in Manchester, or does live in Manchester when he's not jetting around the world to the sunny hotspots. Thank you very much. Get yourself over to Cricstats. Come back to the cricket betting podcast next week if you want to know exactly what is going to happen in the biggest cricket games. Please support us on the podcast providers of your choice. Thanks for having us. I've been Ed Hawkins with Richard Mann and Paul Krishnamurty. We will see you next time.